earlier on. Don't know if that was
Bottas's go. I think they've used it a few more times as well. But yeah, Bottas starting to use that then between 5 and 7, which is a sort of curved straight and not a particularly long one either. So if it's usable, it seems like they want
it. It felt slightly odd. I imagine it's like when you get into a hire car and you're in the airport car park and you adjust the steering, and that
does feel quite odd.
It does feel a bit odd, and you think, once you push that latch back in, you think, I'm not going to do that while I'm actually driving.
Yeah, exactly,
even though presumably the steering would still work when you did that.
Yeah.
But anyway, right. Following the Murray Walker moment, we should probably talk about Sebastian Vettel's lap.
I like it. We're rolling a tense notebook into Sebastian Vettel's flying lap.
What, the random monologue and switching from subject to subject?
I love it. The world loves it, Ted. Hashtag F1 inbox is F1 inbox if you've got any questions for Ted or Jolyon. But first of all, let's watch Sebastian Vettel on his personal best of the day so far. Not many laps on the board. This is only number 18 after the illness that he had at the start, and wide there into turn number 10, wide on the exit, and it's looking good for a personal best for him as he comes into the final sector, which Jolyon was highlighting. Looking good for a personal best for him as he comes into the final sector, which Jolyon was highlighting. Desperate not to do what Max Verstappen did yesterday, and get slightly wide there, which would split him into the runoff, and just one corner to go right about now. You certainly see how far the position, Jolyon's lap from a couple of years ago, 1:18.4 for Sebastian Vettel, personal best in all 3 sectors.
How did that look to you?
That looked okay. It's not very quick at all for Ferrari right now, but I think all the Ferrari-powered cars, no one's showing anything from them really, so I think they're all in a safe engine mode. They didn't look like he was catching any major slides. It looked solid at the rear. I think the worry for Ferrari is going to be understeering through the final sector and having enough front end from what I've seen so far. The Mercedes looks quicker through the final chicane. It also looks slightly harder to drive on the exit of it, but from it's early days for Ferrari. I'm sure that car as well, because they're not quick, but just looks slightly more lumbersome, I'd say, than a sharper front end of the Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean they'll all have what, 60 kilos, between 40, 60 maybe.
Roughly between probably 30 to 60 plus. But we don't know.
Unless Mercedes with 100.
Mercedes they go into a race run and start off in the 1:18.
We'll see. I mean, they did start off the day doing practice pit stops. There has been a bit of sort of hardware testing in the pit lane, I've noticed, from early on. Did you notice they were testing the new
for this year?
Well, it's just that they just repositioned the lights and they want to make it, obviously there is a rule change which lessens the penalties if you miss it, curing the Gasly Baku thing where he got put to the back of the grid, I believe, when he was still with Red Bull Racing last year.
He missed it in FP2, didn't he?
Yes,
and he got thrown to the back the following day.
And he was distraught about it. Red Bull weren't very happy, and of course maybe that was the beginning of the end for his Red Bull Racing career before he got moved to Toro Rosso AlphaTauri. But while they've loosened it up, I think they do want to make it a little bit more obvious for the drivers. So now we have, I've just described the scene out of our commentary box window, we have what looks to me to be a bit of a bigger light. We have what looks to me to be a bit of a bigger light saying go ahead, we don't want you to get weighed. And there are 2 boards that we can't see because they're in line with our commentary box, which actually give the drivers number and their 3-letter designator. So it would be Powell, come in.
But effectively that's kind of the same, apart from instead of having a green light, they've now got sort of chevrons moving up like a travelator sort of thing. I have to say I never really struggled when I was coming in the pits to see if I should be on the weighbridge. If you're distracted and you're looking at the steering wheel or something else, you can still miss the new moving green light and your number. Then it's up to you, if you think you might have missed it, to radio to the team and say check with race direction if I should be coming in. But it's a silly rule sometimes when drivers miss a weighbridge on a. It can only be a good thing if they're more vigilant and we have less of that.
Oh,
Alex Albon
was going well until
it was until the moment that Jolyon allowed us to commentate on it, and that was instant mistake there for Albon at turn number 10. On it, and that was instant mistake there for Albon at turn number 10, who was on for his personal
2 green
best.
sectors, and then
Unfortunately it's all gone wrong for him at turn number 10.
What happened?
Just went.
I missed it. I was busy looking at the
Sorry,
genius pit entry.
I distracted you. Well, let's see if he can get a second lap out of these. What are these? C2 tyres?
Yes.
They're brand new at the start.
Ticking along nicely down to turn 10. Oh, he didn't do turn 10. Oh, he just about did, but he just went in super deep. Couldn't turn the car, understeered. Pretty wide. And he's pushing on, isn't he? Using a lot of road on the exit at 9. Well.
Yep.
And then, just barreling in a bit too much speed, armful of lock and understeering wide, so that's the lap gone. But it's good to see Albon, he's getting some laps in. At 63, he's about 100 shy of what Verstappen yesterday with less than 3 hours to go. But it's good to see him hustling on early on. Hopefully he can get another lap out of these C2s and improve his lap time overall.
Something Christian Horner was saying about the engine earlier on was that Horner's gone, by the way. He's gone back to. He never stays for all what used to be 4 days of a test. He normally comes a desk full of things in his inbox, whether it's a physical inbox or a virtual one these days. Maybe people don't have papers in their inbox these days.
Have you got an inbox?
Yes, but my whole desk and office is. Yes, but my whole desk and office is an inbox. It's full of papers, much to my wife's annoyance, and I never clear it up. Stuff from years and years ago. Yeah. One was a council tax demand that I didn't pay.
Really?
Anyway, so Christian Horner was saying before he's gone, so he's taken a lunchtime flight back to the UK. He's going to be at the factory at Milton Keynes. Is the work that Honda have done? He said that this year's power unit is an evolution of the last spec in which they finished 2019, but has better drivability, a little bit more power, better fuel efficiency he singled out for, which I thought was interesting. And what I kind of wanted to press him on, but kind of didn't think that he was going to give me an answer, was are they going to cure some of the ERS, some of the energy recovery moans that Max Verstappen tends to have? There's no power. How many times did we hear that last year?
Yeah.
And that was all programming, wasn't it? They get there eventually. You know, most of the time he'd been saying there's no power while he'd been just about to set another fastest lap. All looks like Albon might get a
Here we go.
lap. Alex,
Problem turn 10. Not a personal best in the middle sector, but he has got closest to the apex this time.
But from what Christian was saying, more drivable as well, I thought. So that will be another key element. Are we not going to hear those mid-race, what should we call it, strong comments from Max Verstappen about how maybe the MGUK isn't kicking in, or there isn't getting turbo response that he wants, or something, which kind of a Honda thing, but Red Bull work hand in hand with them on that. And Horner seemed to suggest that yes, that will get sorted.
It's all encouraging, isn't it? They seem very happy with Honda, considering they're only 1 year in. Toro Rosso with another year's experience as well. The final sector, a bit wide at 10, but then horribly oversteery through turn 12 and ended up 0.6 shy of his best. It feels like they're having an encouraging pre-season so far, less than 2 days in, but they need to, because the start of the season is always an Achilles heel, and if they can, Honda, the power unit will be a big factor in those early races with Melbourne, Bahrain, no longer China. Long, straight, power-sensitive circuits early on, but if they've made a good step, that'll be crucial.
Don't say that the start of the season is always an Achilles heel to Christian Horner. I dared mention it to him.
You told me he'd gone, so that's why I said
dared mention
He's on a plane now, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I dared mention it to him, and he was like, well, I don't know where that's come from. Didn't do too badly in 2018, did we? I was racking my brains for what exactly happened in 2018. Right, okay. But it's one of those
themselves to a win in China with the help of a safety car.
Oh, yeah, it's one of those
themselves to a win in China with the help of a safety car.
Oh, So
Brilliant strategy.
Brilliant call.
They wouldn't have done it
Ferrari
without.
and Moncton.
But they did win Monaco,
Yeah.
hands down, with Daniel Ricciardo.
Christian always defending his team and keen to jump on the sort of bit of paddock wisdom that Red Bull don't tend to start the season particularly strongly. Yes, we do, he said.
We just disagree. Just
so
say
many
that.
They're up with the split. They finished the season better than they start. I think.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they start really badly.
Well, if you finish better than you start, then
Yeah.
you either finish really, really well and the start was just good,
Yeah.
or you start, bad and you really, really well and the start was just good,
Yeah.
or you start, bad and you finish good. But
Yeah.
when they're winning races at the end of the season, Mexico, pretty much they're always in contention. I know it's altitude and it's very specific, but also Brazil with a bit of altitude. I've said that off the top of my head, but that must be backed up by the stats.
Yeah.
It just seems it that way.
So Romain Grosjean continuing on another lap. Grosjean, who has lost good time in testing. Who do you think's on the back foot, Ted? Who is not looking so pleased as we move further forward through the test?
I wouldn't single out anyone in particular. It hasn't gone. I wouldn't single out anyone in particular. It hasn't gone entirely swimmingly for Renault so far. They've had a few little issues that have meant that their track time is a little bit compromised. I mean, what did Ricciardo do this morning? 41 laps. That's half of what Sergio Perez did. Ocon so far 14 in the as many laps as they would have wanted to do. Have we seen any sort of idea of ultimate speed from McLaren yet? In terms of low fuel qualifying new lap? Probably not.
No, one thing that struck me with McLaren was how quickly Carlos Sainz seemed comfortable in the car yesterday when he was in it. He got down to a sensible pace within. He got down to a sensible pace within the first few laps, and then they were just running the C2s largely and not really seeming to care too much about doing anything on a softer tyre or with less fuel. But both he and McLaren actually since haven't really run with any significant pace, and Lando Norris right now in 11th has done nearly 100 laps, but is following.
Dave Robson is downstairs with Laura Winter.
Thanks, chaps. Yeah, the doors at vehicle performance. What can you tell us? What's going on inside?
Well, we were just getting into some changes over lunchtime, and we found a few little bits of damage at the back of the car. Nothing particularly serious or concerning. It's just that they're well buried deep in the car, so it's taking a little bit of time to fix. So yeah, had to take the floor off, but that's just going back on now. So should be back on track in the next 10 to 15 minutes.
So you say damage to the car. Can you be any more specific about the certain areas?
Just some wiring damage.
Electrical then?
Yeah.
Okay, any alarm bells ringing in terms of the time lost on the track?
A little bit this afternoon, but it's only day 2, so plenty of time to make up.
George Russell relaxed in there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's fine. He's enjoying a little bit of time out of the car, but I'm sure he'll be back in there now, ready to get on with it.
And I suppose relatively compared to last year, this has been a dream start, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, a very good start. Yeah. A fantastic day this morning, almost perfect. But as you can see, everyone's having strong days. It's clearly the game's moved on as you'd expect. So yeah, but for us, a good start, good solid start. Yeah.
And barring the electrical issues, the damage you have sustained over the past few hours or so, are you happy with how the car is performing? What's the data feedback telling you?
In terms of what we're doing, we're happy. We've got a good program, working our way through it. Yeah, so far so good.
Dave, thank you so much, and for inviting me up here as well. Onto the pit wall. Hopefully we'll see those doors open very soon. Thanks.
Hopefully it's warmed up down there, because Haas were complaining it was very chilly down in the pit lane. earlier on. We've had a
Well,
question into
much
hashtag F1 inbox. Triangle123 has asked Ted specifically, is the new Renault, which we're looking at the moment, the closest to a low nose type car that we've had since the late 1990s?
Yes, as is the Mercedes and the Racing Point. But for some reason, it does look a bit like those sort of low nose. Reminds me of a kind of sort of footwork arrows, or a.
Considering the results that Footwork got, they get brought up an awful lot. We were mentioning them in relation to Williams.
Were we?
Yesterday.
Okay.
So
Did they go up? It was that striped car that I think Suzuki drove as well. Derek Warwick earlier on in the sort of 90s, or maybe a kind of low, more strange on you. But nice to see Dave Robson there, ex-McLaren engineer, Comedy Dave, Jenson Button used to call him. He was Jenson's engineer at McLaren, I think, for a few years before he went to Williams. So he's head of, what was his title again? Head of Vehicle Performance.
yes,
It was, wasn't it? Oh, here we go.
Kimi Raikkonen
Well, that goes back to another question, just to
at the final chicane.
continue what you're asking about teams over which there seems to be a little bit of a question mark as we reach the halfway stage of the first test, and that has to be, Renault won, McLaren, they're reliable, are they quick, and Ferrari will get onto, there'll be my other one, and the other one is Alfa Romeo Sauber. Always a little bit of
Thanks, Ted. Spin for Kimi Raikkonen. Round he goes there. Not for the first time we've seen someone spinning, but he manages to still keep us without a red flag.
A relatively carbon copy of the Bottas spin as well. Turned in, and it was pretty much the exact same point, just as he's getting to the apex, the car pirouetting. Here we go, he's right getting onto that curb. Don't think he touched the sausage on the inside. I think it was just coming over the brow to that curb. Don't think he touched the sausage on the inside. I think it was just coming over the brow. The rear of the car gets unloaded and goes round. There's a slight tailwind coming down over that hill, and sometimes in the afternoons that can pick up as well, and that's probably helping to make that corner particularly tricky at the moment.
maybe it's just because I haven't seen enough of the Alfa. I'm not sure whether they do. What was his? Was it?
Kubica did the morning, didn't he?
He did, but it also
79 all
did
day.
a lot of aero runs, so they didn't do. So Giovinazzi then did 79 in the afternoon, didn't he? So is this making the point that testing is now so ultra efficient and reliable for all of them? When a team isn't pumping in 100 laps or so, you're saying they're not having such a crazy day. And rewind even 3 or 100 laps or so, you're saying they're not having such a crazy day. And rewind even 3 or 4 years, and you would never be saying that. But I don't know. I just haven't quite seen enough. But maybe we can follow Kimi for a bit, get Jolyon's view on how this car looks. But it doesn't seem to, Mercedes influence or not. So it's still a bit of a question mark for me, Haas and Alfa Romeo Sauber.
Yeah, let's see how Raikkonen looks. He's made the apex nicely there. The front end looks okay. The rear also not stepping out on him, but that's an understeery corner, that turn 5 through the left. And it doesn't seem to be particularly leaning on the car right now. Through turn 9, all looks quite under control. Not using too much road on the exit. Down towards turn 10. What's his lap time doing? 2 seconds off Sergio Perez on the C3 medium tyre. It all looks neat. He's not hanging it out as much as Albon certainly was earlier on. This is where he spun just moments ago. Much neater, neat, tidy. Doesn't really look massively on the edge.
Well,
Raikkonen.
no,
It's just
well,
neat,
it's pretty
neat and
calm,
tidy.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
To fair to them, Sauber did say, sorry I keep calling them Sauber, but they have so many name sponsors now.
They do.
I've kind of lost track, and when all of those commercial arrangements expire, they'll go back to calling themselves Sauber, so I thought I might as well just save some time. But what they were saying was that now they are confident of the reliability, they've done all their aero work, and it's time to play around to understand responds to changes, and not to expect anything too soon. That's tended to be the MO from quite a few of the teams, certainly the midfield ones, while they figure out where they are in relation to racing point lap time from earlier today, is under what conditions that was set.
But also, Alfa Sauber still they're powered by Ferrari, as are Haas, as are Ferrari, and they're the three teams that we've not really seen anything from so far. Never troubling the top of the times, or haven't done an inordinate amount of laps in the day. Grosjean's up to 114 in the Haas now, which is not bad going, with a 2.5 hours to go. That could be a pretty healthy total by the end. But none of those teams have shown any real flash of their true potential, I don't think. I hope not, anyway. And Ferrari, certainly, they're a long way away, and I think potentially all the Ferrari powered teams unleash a little bit more and get onto terms with the likes of Racing Point, who surely have used up more of their potential to be top. They used a softer compounded tyre as well, didn't they, Sergio Perez, to do that earlier on. Yeah. So 4 tenths to the good. It's a good time. The car looks good. Perez has been very comfortable in it from the outset, but I'm sure they're turning the whip up slightly more than the Ferrari power cars.
And the other question mark for me is also, and one that we probably won't get answered here because we are only testing on one circuit, is how the Ferrari SF1000 reacts in the hands of Sebastian Vettel to his particular driving style. So Leclerc, his teammate, alluded to this yesterday when he said, we have built, what we can confirm is that this car does have a wider range of setups that we can actually put on, whether that's suspension geometry, I guess, or well, it would be both aero and mechanical, I guess. But in any case, is this the car that allows Sebastian Vettel to do what he needs to do and to shine? And I mean, in the hands of him around a day and a half that we've got remaining of his first test in Barcelona, we'll see. That's a decent lap time for his first day. Maybe they'll put some soft tyres on, take a little bit of fuel out, then we'll get some kind of answer, some sort of true answer. Even though Ferrari say they're doing it differently so far, we'll get an answer for that. But that's a crucial one for me, because so much depends on Vettel's success this year. Not only from Ferrari mounting a proper 4 driver, or even he wants to accept what we believe is that offer to stay at Ferrari.
Where else would he go, Ted? Where else would he look?
Hiking,
rumours about
hiking
McLaren?
in the mountains with
retirement, really?
With Hannah and the mountains with
retirement, really?
With Hannah and the 3 girls. Yeah.
Do you think he could retire? Do you think he'd choose to?
Could. Anything's possible. I don't know. Listen, I mean, McLaren has been suggested, but then we've heard very strongly from everybody at McLaren that for the short term, mid term and long term, their future is Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris. Would they want to upset the apple cart to slot Sebastian Vettel in there? Do they need to? Would it be out of their hands if either Sainz or Norris went somewhere else? Leclerc's nailed down at Ferrari. I mean, who would Ferrari put in there? Ricciardo?
But if Vettel left,
Sainz?
Yeah, exactly, then would it be one of the McLaren drivers, or would it be Daniel Ricciardo? They would be the obvious options, assuming Lewis Hamilton doesn't do a sharp change to go alongside Charles Leclerc, which would then vacate a space for Sebastian Vettel if he so wished.
And even though I can see, Vettel will be like doing, which is winning and showing that, famous finger first. But I don't know, leaving Ferrari for the first year of a McLaren-Mercedes re-partnership, big call.
Yeah, big call if he instigated it and turned down an offer from Ferrari. But I think, as Jolien was saying, the start of the season absolutely crucial for Sebastian Vettel, which is why this illness not particularly well timed for him, as Kimi Raikkonen continues on his way, currently occupying 10th position. A reminder of the lap count for you: Perez on 87. A reminder of the lap count for you: Perez on 87, Ricciardo 41, Gasly 98, Albon with 75, and operating right now on the circuit, Russell 71, Leclerc 24, Grosjean with 114 still going, currently in the pits though, and then Kimi Raikkonen getting close to the century, 96 at the moment, 95 for Norris, Ocon with 21, and Bottas with 37, not what see, though.
I like the way that Ferrari and Red Bull are using each driver's respective side of the garage. So yesterday Leclerc was operating out of the right-hand side of the Ferrari garage as we look at it. And now because, even this morning, now because Seb is in, they've moved the active car over to the left-hand side as we look at it. Obviously the driver's right-hand side of the garage, because that's their normal side of the garage. Red Bull have been doing it too, with Verstappen on the right-hand side as you look at it, and Albon. And
that is the detail that you know if you've been wandering the pit lane for the years that you have, Ted. I would not have noticed that. That's excellent stuff.
Seb's got the slightly Peaky Blinders style haircut there, shorn on the sides and a bit longer on the top, and that is a new set of C3 going on, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yep.
We're going to
solid.
We've got Valtteri Bottas on the circuit, and we'll catch you up on the state of play as we have 2 hours and 22 minutes remaining of day 2 of the test. Back to the main straight to show you how things stand, with Sergio Perez with a 1:17.3, 87 laps. Then Daniel Ricciardo 0.4 of a second away from that 41, and then Gasly 0.7 of a second away, 98 laps, and a spin this morning for the Frenchman. Very first thing, Alexander Albon lost a little bit of time getting adjusted, setting that time on the George Russell is in 5th within a second on the C3. Same applies to Charles Leclerc, but we've heard about the difference in approach for Ferrari's test program. Hamilton 7th, then Vettel, Hamilton with 106 laps, Vettel with 24, then Grosjean on 114, Raikkonen on 97, 11 for Norris. 38 laps on the board, and if things are looking so very good for Mercedes, and Lewis Hamilton's mood certainly suggesting that much, can Valtteri Bottas find 3.0 and get even closer? It's a huge task to ask him to get close to one of the great drivers of Formula 1 who's going for title number 7, but if Mercedes have an advantage, that could well be the battle that dominates. Okay, we can we'll pick that up. We'll pick that up. Okay, we can we'll pick that up. We'll pick that up because it's time now to focus on Carlos Sainz and McLaren, and we're going to get an exclusive tour with Rosanna Tennant, who's been down there speaking to the Spanish driver.
Carlos Sainz, great to see you. Day 2 of the test. How was yesterday?
It was a very good day, actually. We enjoyed. I personally. So around 160 laps, I think, is the maximum you can do, and it was the first day. Not a single issue on the car. Run smoothly and enjoyed it a lot. Yeah.
So Mega. So you've obviously made some incredible steps over the winter break. What were the things that you wanted to get rid of?
It was a decent car that allowed us to take a very big jump forward, and now it's all about finding details and finding new concepts that allow us to, with the car that we have now, open windows of future performance. And we brought here a very basic car, open windows of future performance. And we brought here a very basic car, a car that allowed us to do 160 Ks, and now it's time to develop it and start bringing new parts to it.
Well, it's amazing here because, of course, this is your home race. When we come here for the Spanish Grand Prix, the fans are going wild for you, Carlos. We're going to have to make them sad now because we're going to go inside the garage. But is it lovely seeing the fans?
I love it mainly because, it's been my home all. There's always some faces that I see every year and I can remember, and for me it's something that I can never forget.
Well, let's go inside. You're going to show us around your garage.
Yeah, Lando has just left, so it's perfect. Has just left, so it's perfect.
So this is it, your office essentially. Talk me through it.
Well, this is it, yeah. Bit of a new branding, new lines that I think of sets of tires ready for Lando, stored at 80 degrees. That is the FIA limit. This in the morning when it's 3 degrees outside.
This is my dream. Can I just stay here?
And I am the first 5 minutes like this, just hugging it because it's it's 80 degrees. It's very, very warm. It's very nice. And then
That's
we have
delightful.
the helmets, some new boots, some new Sparko boots there to try for Lando. We have the engineers. Today is obviously Lando's crew of engineers. We have all the mechanics that they use this time when the car is out on track, probably to go and have a coffee and reload a bit, because the real action starts when the comes back in. They are massively involved in obviously changing some parts. We're always testing new things here, and they are extremely fast. It's always a pleasure to work with them because they are incredibly fast.
And we see you guys talking to your engineers in the garage, but are you talking to engineers in other parts of the paddock as well, like you would on a race weekend?
We are basically debriefing in the car, but then at lunchtime I go up to the truck and do a bit more relaxed. Around on track, just taking pictures or maybe having a look at how the car feels. And
Do you get to go out on track?
Do I get to go out on
As
track?
in track side?
Yes, I will go this afternoon when everyone's doing race sims to see how everyone is doing, and yeah, I will for sure.
Okay, well, let's have another look around. So when it's your turn, you have your helmet down here, your gloves, a little changing area as well?
The changing area is obviously private. We have the brand
We won't go
center.
in there, don't worry.
The whole brand center that we brought to the test this year, because you spend 2 weeks here and it's better just to bring the whole hospitality and to spend some time on it.
Well, look, here's your helmet. We mentioned it and it appears like magic.
What do you think?
Hey, it looks cool. Talk me through the design.
Basically, the good old Spanish flag is the base of my design. This year I've done it a bit more dynamic, but as you can see, it's a very simple helmet. Basically, it's the Chile, obviously Estrella Galicia always comes with me. There's the 2 Spanish flags here, to each side of the eye. Then, yeah, the colors, I've gone for this gray. It's going to be my new baseline color. I think I'm going to make it a bit darker because in the sun sometimes it looks a bit too clear, and I want it to be a bit darker.
And is it going to make you go even faster?
Hopefully. I mean, every detail counts.
Everything does count. And let's talk about the target for this year then. I think all eyes are on you guys having... And let's talk about the target for this year then. I think all eyes are on you guys having made such a step on last year. Can you take it on even further, or do you think 4th is kind of the max?
I think...
Oh, hello! Hola, ¿qué tal?
Yes.
What are you doing here?
He's just giving us behind the scenes.
Lying on camera.
Oh, not again. The sandbagging and lying continues.
I was going to use another word.
Oh, okay. How was your winter as well?